Hey, hey, hey. What's up? Hey, hey, hey. What's up? What's up? Quick on the draw. Got Sherry here. How are you? Thank you so much for popping in. We got Melissa. What up? What up? Thanks for coming. Got Marcus. Cool. Mr. Ed Boler. Thanks for coming. All right, so let's roll. I had some kind of connection thing it was telling me on Facebook. So we're already a little late. Thank y'all for popping in here. So we're talking on this. One of the things, I have a lot of conversations where people reach out, and a lot of times they're interested, obviously, in buying businesses. They're interested in starting a fund. But the bottom line is they're interested in figuring out something financially, whether that's just generating more income, making more money for something very specific, whether it's retirement or building generational wealth. Most of the time they're coming and, they have a problem. We've had people where they are in a job and they want to leave that job. It's like, I got to get out of here. But regardless, they're coming and they want to generate more income. And one of the most interesting things to me has been the difficulty in showing somebody a simple path to getting somewhere, and people wanting to complicate it as opposed to just follow these specific steps. And originally, I always thought that was because they were trying to figure out an easier way. And I think it's actually, the more years that this has gone on, I think it's actually that people want to complicate it. People want to figure out a way to make it more difficult than it has to be or really is. And I think this comes from a lot of conditioning that we get from a young age. It's kind of one of the number one thing is growing up and having people, especially if you grow up and you're not wealthy, if you grow up and you're poor and you just don't see simple ways of getting money. You're told that money is difficult. One of my favorites is, money doesn't grow on trees. And one of the reasons that's hilarious to me is that it literally does grow on trees. Like, literally, it's made out of paper. It's made out of literal trees. So you have things that just condition you to start to think, oh, getting money is something that is difficult. So the first thing is, you're just taught from your age that, like, money has to be this thing, or building wealth has to be this thing that's difficult. And whether you're right or wrong, something about the subconscious is that it's going to try to prove you right. And this is just an evolutionary thing. If you read books, just about evolution, one of the aspects of our brain is that we're trained still now to live well in a tribe. Part of living well in a tribe back, thousands of years ago was you had to be right. If you said, hey, if we go to this place, there's going to be a river, there's going to be water. And, if you're the person in charge of that and you spend a week traveling there and you get there and there's no water, there's going to be some upset people. We read biblical stories. The reason that it was such this big thing that Moses was taking people through the desert and he was the leader is that when your life is literally on the line. So anyways, we have this subconscious character about ourselves where we want to be right. And so if in your subconscious you feel like, oh, getting money is complicated or getting money is difficult, you're gonna prove it out. Like the last thing, like literally a life or death matter, the last thing your brain wants to be is wrong. And so having years of that kind of influence makes it difficult to overcome and start to even be able to see. Like I can be talking to somebody and I'm like, here, do this next thing and this will make more money. And they're like, yeah, I see it. Like, do you see? Yes, I see that. And like, but what if I go over here and I do this first? And obviously for me, that big transition came just by happenstance because of my experience buying the first business, Cool Wall Street, where it was just this paradigm shift of no one ever told me that I could buy income. No one ever told me that the same way, that I went and got a car loan for my first car, or the same way that people would go and buy a house, I could go and buy the income. Everyone told me that you had to try to get really good grades in high school, and then you had to try to get into a really good college, and then you had to come out of that college with a great degree, and then you had to get a job, and then you had to take money from that job and put it into a savings, and you had to do that for 40 years, and then eventually you got wealthy. And so to see these two things where it's like, wait a minute, why didn't anybody, this is important, this is my life. One end, you're giving me this path, and you're like, hey, the only path is for you to sacrifice a bunch of debt that you're going to be in for college for the rest of your life in 40 years, or like that's the only way. And to realize that that wasn't the case would just cause like this huge kind of shift in my subconscious where I didn't really have that problem anymore. But I think that that's the number one thing that people have to overcome. And, I just talk to people all the time where it's like, okay, like here's an easy path. Here are the easy ways. There's so many things today where it's just, I talked about that thing about being against marketing. And, I have a lot of my personal philosophies, but, you look at just the simplicity of every way that you can generate income, whether it's Turo or Airbnb or DeFi or all these things where today it's just easier than ever. I made a post, and which is one of the reasons that I decided to do this video, but I made a post on Instagram today sharing someone that I follow who does a lot in financial advisory stuff, but he was just saying like, hey, you're not a genius. The government has basically blown $4 trillion into our faces. If you're not getting your piece of that, then it's on you. And that's a crucial thing. It's like, if you're not doing what it takes to get it right now, where there's more money floating around than ever before, then it's on you. But I think the reason that a lot of people aren't getting it is because they're in their heads about, I've got to take this step, and then I'm going to take that step. And they got like 10 steps to get to the money, as opposed to just figuring out, okay, I can go today. Like there are just too many things. I just don't even have enough time. Just too many things. Like I said, from DeFi to Turo to Airbnb to just all these things. And, I do a lot of these things at a different level. But even when I'm doing the hotel deal, it's okay, here, the money is here. and we're gonna go get that money. So the most difficult and frustrating thing for me is even what I do is I talk a lot about buying businesses because it's been a path and it's been great for me. But the general philosophy is, where is the money? Go get the money. When I'm buying a business, that's all I'm doing. Like when I'm buying a business, there's money right here in this business. I'm just going to get the money. When I do a DeFi deal, and you know, honestly, this year, DeFi has made me more money than any of my businesses. And so when I am in DeFi, I'm looking at that. Here's the money, and I just go get the money. If I'm looking at Turo, like, here's the money. We're doing one of the businesses is starting to build a fleet of Turo vehicles, and actually will probably do more higher than Turo, but there's a certain amount of money in the Turo pot. There's a certain amount of money every month in the hire pot. That money's already there. And what most people are doing, instead of just going to get the money, they're trying to complicate, just go and figure out, just invent some money. They're trying to go and come up with some very convoluted, complicated, you know, bunch of strategies. I'm going to do this thing over here, and I'm going to become an influencer, and then I'm going to go and get this, and then I'm going to sell these things. And then, so you've got like 29 steps before you finally get the money. So you want to go and to where the money is and just get it. The second reason that most people complicate things is because they're coping with their past. And, you know, when I'm talking to somebody, you know, I have a lot of folks that are older. I have, unfortunately, a lot of people that reach out to us, and they're older, and, you know, they're getting to 50, and they're looking to where they're going to be able to retire, when they're going to be able to retire. And unfortunately, most people aren't prepared. And that's with the $4 trillion that's floating around. And so they're trying to figure out, okay, how can I buy a business that can supplement my retirement? And one of the difficult things, even working with those folks, is they want to complicate it because they've got to cope with their past. They've got to cope with the fact that they've spent 30 years in a job they hate, sacrificing time away from their family, sacrificing not having the energy to put into things that they were passionate about, and most importantly, sacrificing the opportunity cost of the fact that they could have done this 20 years ago and been in a much better financial position. And so when you're faced with that kind of coping, it becomes difficult to say, like, man, like, this can't be that easy. Like, this can't, like, it can't be as simple as just, oh, the money's there, let me go get the money. I've got to make this work. Okay, so I'm going to, like, you know, I see this big opportunity. I'm going to build this funnel, and I'm going to bring some people in. And even when it comes to just like you know, we see this, like, even when it comes to just the business buying process, like, people want to, you know, create this whole monstrosity and, you know, all these systems, like, and you're coming back to, it's like, hey, just go do this and go do it, get a deal. Just go do this and buy this franchise. Just go do this and close something. And they can't do it because they want to, they need, you know, whether it's the impact of society, whether it's that second one of the coping, they need this to be more complicated because their psyche can't handle that it's that simple. I'll take a break before we get to 3 and 4, see what y'all's comments are over here. All right. I pop up these. I did say hi earlier, but Sherry popped in. My sister Melissa popped in. Marcus, what's up, homie? Mr. Ed, I certainly appreciate that, says Ace. Yes, the man on business acquisitions. And like I said, even more than business acquisitions, it's just going to where the money is and getting it. Don, what up? When is your fund going to be paying dividends? So I don't have a fund that pays dividends, so I don't know which fund. We do have deals. So we have deals in DMI and Dealmakers Institute. They're deals that have different quarterly dividends where somebody's bought a business and they do dividends. But in the fund, there isn't a fund that has like dividend that does it. It's more of we're buying deals and we're going to exit those deals and then we do distributions. Don says thumbs up. Ace, first time catching on live in a while. I appreciate you jumping on, man. All right, we got quite a few of these. Thanks for y'all for. Be sure to hit the like button as well. I certainly appreciate when y'all pop in here. Let's see. Oops, I missed one. Jake Bezos, not to be confused with Bezos. This is Jake Bezos. Junior college and looking for a private equity analyst role with a boutique firm. Very interested in your thoughts. Well, there are more private equity funds than ever before. And so there are going to be a lot of those opportunities and going to be more and more of those opportunities. What's happening because of, like I mentioned, the trillions of dollars that are kind of floating around. More people have more money. And they've got to put it somewhere and they need it to be more diversified. And so a lot of funds are benefiting from that. So I would start to build relationships. I think that the most important thing, especially if you're in college right now, is getting an internship. And then that's going to give you a leg up when it comes to an analyst role. Aziz says, I feel like it's ego as well, Ace. I 100% agree. 100% agree. That is definitely the case. I think there are a lot of people where it makes them feel important to think, okay, like, yeah, like I'm doing this and I'm doing this move over here. And it's one of the things that's more difficult to me. I have people that reach out all the time that are big into kind of the guru space and that kind of thing. And one of the reasons that I shy away from a little bit of that is making sure that I'm keeping the goal. Because sometimes if you're looking at it from the ego standpoint, you'll do a lot of work that gets you into these ego metrics. And so there are a lot of people that get their satisfaction from how big their Instagram following is. And the truth is, while that can be turned into money, you don't want any of your satisfaction to come from that because you can't spend that. You can't go to your electric company and say, hey, like, I got these followers. I ain't got no money. You know what I mean? So I think, it getting anything ego involved with income generation, I think is a mistake. Marva says, hi, amazing information. Thank you, Marva. Thanks for popping in. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button. All right, there are quite a few of these. Let's see, I may break and then do these last two and then come back and we'll do a few more comments and then we'll bounce out of here. End the day strong. So number 3, a lot of people just like doing what everybody else is doing. I think it's difficult for folks to do something different, to go down the path of the road less traveled, as that poem talks about, is a difficult road. It's lonely. You can be ridiculed. People will make fun of you. People will think you're crazy. You're out on Front Street. You may be embarrassed. All of those things, which again, as Aziz mentioned, a lot of that is like ego driven, trying to protect your ego. The easier thing for you to do is just follow what everybody else is doing. And if everybody else is doing the dumb thing, as our parents have all said, if all your friends jump off the bridge, are you gonna jump as well? Well, that's what most people are doing, and that's what most people do. They're literally afraid to go against the path. But that's not. I think it's interesting because that going against the path is the new path, if you guys will follow me. So this new entrepreneur path which is kind of a celebration of going against the traditional path, has now become the new path. And anytime something becomes the new path, it's just the law of numbers that now that you're going to be in the average. Now that's going to be the difficult road to take. One of my favorite books, 4 Hour Workweek, talks about this. And he talks about the fact that the person that applies for the higher level job that's out of their league still has a better chance of getting that out of their lead job than the normal job that everybody else like them is applying for. And so now we're in that same situation with entrepreneurship, where if you're doing basically, I mean, here's the bottom line. If you're doing anything that's been advertised on Instagram, there's already too much competition. If you're using a strategy that's being advertised, it just, you don't want to do, I don't want to do that I want to move to something else. I want to do the next thing. And even if I'm doing that strategy, I want to do it differently than anybody else is doing. And so, it's one of the reasons that I love studying Wall Street. It's because they never are advertising what they're doing behind the scenes. So they're keeping it a secret, and nothing comes out until they crash the whole economy, and then the Congress pulls them in, and even then, it comes out, and like even the way they talk to each other is just completely outrageous. But to get in and start to learn that, like, I'm trying to get into the closed doors. If somebody's advertising a door for you to come into, that's spunt. That's over. Like, that gig is up. Like, I'm trying to get into the figure out what they're talking about behind the closed door. So I think that's important, but getting used to the idea of not following what everyone is doing in kind of this new age path of, being this kind of new age entrepreneur. And then the last thing that I think, which ties into the previous one, I think it is that advertising, that celebration of entrepreneurship that confuses people as to what entrepreneurship is. And again, like, I think there's a lot of celebration about doing a lot of things, hustling, having a lot of balls in the air, and building up this kind of life of being an entrepreneur. And the truth is, like, the real goal is to have money that's being generated to fund the life that you want, as opposed to having your whole life be this income generation. Like, now you've just switched kind of one master of corporate America and that kind of thing for another master of fitting into this mold of what an entrepreneur business owner is supposed to be. The goal should be that just your income is being generated. Like, you've got passive income, you're an investor, that money's been generated, and you're off doing your thing. It makes me concerned, like, if I've got somebody, like, I basically want to learn from folks and deal with folks that are living a life that I want to live, because that's the real goal. Like, it's more about what life am I living, but it's one of the reasons that even while I'm doing crypto, I've got some friends that do really well with day trading, and I'm just not going to be in front of my computer as much time as they are, because my time, I value my life, I value my time too much. And so, I remember when I was young, my sister who's on can attest to this. Even when I owned a business, I had employees that literally were living in apartments. I had a small little apartment building, but I was living at home. You know, I mean, I was living in my little, sleeping on my little bunk bed. I tell a funny story. I remember when I was out on a date with, you know, I owned a business, was out on a date with an attorney who was a few years older than me, beautiful girl. We're talking, chatting, and I had this bad dream where I kicked my bed or whatever and hurt my foot. And she was like, "Oh, what's wrong with your foot?" And I was like, I kicked the ladder on my bed. And she was like, "Why was a ladder on your bed?" It was like, it was because it was a freaking bunk bed. So that was embarrassing. That was probably the last straw. I was like, okay, I got to get out of my parents' house. But my goal at that point was I didn't want to spend a dime unless it was from passive income. Like I didn't want a single bill. I didn't want anything. You know, so here I am, a full grown man with employees of the business and all this stuff. And I'm sleeping in a bunk bed. You know, I'm driving my mom's old car, which at that point was, you know, what, 15 years old, 88. So all of those things were what, you know, and you know, it's great. Not everybody has that luxury of like even having a parent that will allow them to stay in their bunk bed. So I'm very grateful for that. But my goal at that point was I'm not trying to spend any, you know, I was a cheap date. I was cheap at everything because like that wasn't my money. I didn't feel like my money to spend was money that assets generated. And so that was money that could be spent. And so, you know, that was my first goal. I remember buying my first Mercedes because I went through a little car stage and it was like, all right, I got to go buy this apartment building. Got to get that fixed up. I'm in there working, painting, no idea what I'm doing, and get that rented out, you know, all 4 units. Now I had that extra income. I could go buy my Mercedes, but each thing was like this. Like, I don't have money to spend. Like, if I've got to work for this money, then that money is the only to be invested. If I got to put any of my time into this money, that money is only to be invested. I've got to go now, take that. If I want to buy anything, if I want to buy lunch today, I got to figure out how to generate some passive income from this money because that's the money that is available to be spent. And so that's that final kind of shift. All right, let's do a few more questions, then I'm going to bounce out of here. Montrell, what up, homie? Thanks for popping in. Can't remember if I missed Keno. I did miss Keno. I guess I missed a few of these. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to hit the like button before we get out of here so everybody can check this out. It's a little bit different than what most people are talking about. I think it's valuable information that's taken me 20 years to figure a lot of this kind of more psychological side of things out. Ernesto, nice to see you. Nice to see you, sir. I appreciate it. Great info as usual. Certainly appreciate that. Don says, great advice. How can I join DMI? Go to Dealmakers Institute. See, I'm terrible at promoting this stuff. I got to get on that. Go to dealmakersinstitute.com. Check out the information. You can set up a call. There's a link to a calendar there. Set up a call. And yes, definitely just an amazing group. We're doing some really cool deals. Had 4 deals close in August, 3 more in September. So just definitely killing it. And it's a small group, so it's a lot of deals happening. Hung Lee, what up? Says, just ace it. I appreciate it. Ready to hear some more awesome straight line knowledge bombs, man. Just a straight line. I'm just trying to help everybody get into the straight line mentality. It doesn't have to be complicated. How much for your Dealmaker Institute? So reach out. There are different options. Go to dealmakersinstitute.com. There's you get some information there, and then you'll set up a call, and then they'll go over kind of the different options of and figure out what is the best route for you. We have a merger specialist program. We have the traditional DMI group, so they'll get you hooked up for sure. Don says, love your mindset. I certainly appreciate that. I reached out through a Facebook message. I'm just trying to learn the skill and willing to pay. That's all it takes in life, man. If you're willing to learn skills and willing to pay to learn those skills, that's probably the biggest or the most unfortunate thing about college is that, man, like I had 2 years of college that charged $40,000 a year, top 20 university in America, and left there without a single skill. I was 2 years. I left early, but it didn't look like in the next 2 years I would have stayed there. I was going to get any skills that I'd be using today at all. So that is just the biggest scam. But if you're willing to forego paying for that waste of time and actually pay to get real skills that you can use, man, I think you're headed in the right direction. Rene, what up, homie? Thanks for popping in. Cowboy del Norte. I'm in Cali right now, by the way. Ace Chapman is the man, bitch blessings. I certainly appreciate that, man. Answered that. Dealmakersinstitute.com. If you're doing anything, aka Turo, Airbnb, selling courses, it already mostly saturated. Gotta take a different perspective. Exactly when you approach it, so no one else is doing it. But it's just the case with everything. It's like you want to make sure that whatever you're doing isn't the thing that everybody else is doing. Yes, yeah, I definitely agree. Nothing against it, but just have to take a different approach. You got to take a different approach to everything you're doing. Question. Almighty Ace, what are your thoughts on private wealth banking? Is it smarter to just reinvest your wealth banking into your own fund? Thanks in advance. So I am a fan. I used to do that. And it's not that everything that you're doing, it's just a opportunity cost of what else is out there. And so when I look at like today's world, like I want to understand things like decentralized finance. I think that's just a bigger opportunity. Obviously managing your own fund is a bigger opportunity. And just to give you those two, and that's just for me, it depends how much time you can put into something. But when you're looking at the opportunities that have just huge or kind of a huge amount of leverage, the reason that a fund has a huge amount of leverage is that you can show those returns, and then you can make returns off of other people's money. So, if you're kind of just managing and doing your own thing and investing your own money, that has less of a benefit, because if you can leverage other people's money, that's going to have you at a higher rate of return on your portion of those funds, because you're going to make a little bit of what everybody's making. You look at something like decentralized finance, and I look at that the same way I would the stock market 160 years ago. It's at the ground floor. It would be like being one of those folks that were designing what the modern day stock market looks like. And so if you can get in on the ground floor of something, that's a bigger benefit than even having money in just the regular stock market, because that's something where you're just in at the ground floor. So, and obviously that's why we're seeing the returns that we're seeing. Melvin is laughing at my bunk bed story. Yeah, man. It was like, as soon as it came out of my mouth, and I was like, yeah, I had this bad dream, and I was like trying to get away from somebody. I had to kick him real hard. Then I kicked in real life and kicked the ladder, and I'm like explaining this story. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh yeah, the ladder. It's just like, why do you have a ladder in your bed? Like, the last thing she thought was that I was sleeping in a freaking bunk bed. Melvin says we need more stories of younger Ace. I'm happy to do it. Happy to do it. I try to come and just give some value and bounce up. But yes, that is good. I'd love to share more stories if that's something y'all are interested in. We'll end with this one from Rene. Are you going to DCMEX? I am. Actually, I can't remember how it goes, but yes, I won't be able to be there the first day. I'm gonna actually fly in and be there the morning, and then be able to hang out and party and catch up with everyone, and also just get back to Ciudad de Mexico. All right, have a productive rest of the day, folks. Talk to y'all soon. I'll pop in and see what this was. Was listening to great one. He's like, I was listening to Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, great book. So he saw Ace's face and press play. Thanks for popping in. All right, have a great evening.